Hiya Janine, how are you?
Oh, yeah, very hot, but I've been scrubbing the floor.
You've been scrubbing the floor, have you?
Yeah, in the kitchen. Yeah, upstairs, yeah.
I tell you, see, you've done all your work already, Janine. And there's us only starting. Ladies and gentlemen, we're all sat round the big table today because we're all historians. Okay? That's right. We'll have to do. Everybody has to do it. Because historians think all the time. Okay, that's dead on. So that's us warmed up on our thinking. Now, I know that all of us have written different things about why did William win. Who's ready to go with an evidence sandwich? Tell us yours.
William started preparing from June.
Why is that going to help him win?
They're going to be strong.
Brilliant. Brilliant job. That's great. So we've said William started preparing from June of that year. A specific piece of evidence. This means they're going to be strong. That's brilliant. Our key question is why did William win the Battle of Hastings? That is an opening up style question. The issue of progression is going to be much more explicit in a question of why did William win rather than in to understand more about the Battle of Hastings. Mike Riley's coming in, he's brilliant at getting across this idea of kind of a really good inquiry question that is both fun, motivating but also rigorous.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
finally. Thanks very much for coming.
Just going to head over to Esther's room, and I thought maybe if you could, help us sort of plan the sort of medium term, sort of for the year 7, just sort of looking at the big inquiry question.
Sure. And we're going to be focused specifically on where they're continuing after this work on William.
That's it.
Focusing on medieval village. And
that's it.
That's good. So if we've determined the content, the particular focus, well, what's the big EP, the end product that pupils are going to produce at the end of this sequence of lessons?
One would be a medieval court case where the pupils are given sort of certain people to be, and then they act out 3 particular court cases which would have been there at the time.
Okay, well, where's the starting point? The starting point is the big question.
The key question that we'll have at the minute is why is it difficult to find out what life was like in a medieval village? Trying to firm that up to make it more of an inquiry thing rather than a what was life like in medieval village.
Yeah, because that's too kind of wild and woolly.
Yeah.
That what was life like just lacks
But isn't
rigor.
there I mean, for me, isn't this whole thing of saying why is it difficult to find out? We know it's difficult because for a student, doesn't it maybe make them feel a bit insecure?
You're saying, is it pupil friendly?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, really, isn't it? Partly because it's got 17 words and it's hugely long. So I think we can get our heads around a more pupil friendly wording of the question. How can we make a realistic role play? That kind of question?
A realistic medieval role play. It's just because I think they would. I would just worry that, or not worry, but they would see it maybe as like the question I had, like what makes good group work? You know what I mean? What makes a good role play? Lots of action, lots of this.
It's rooting in the period, doesn't it? I mean, that could be a realistic role play about medieval peasants.
I don't know, I always get stuck on words, but what's to say something is realistic or not, and for them, so could you just take it really back down to basics and say what makes a good role play, medieval role play? Yeah.
I think that's a winner, really. Okay, well, needs to be then some kind of initial stimulus to get pupils interested in the big question. So thinking about the big hook to learning.
A real hook, if you can give them a sense of ownership over the past, you say, right, you are now going to be pastor or whoever, and this is what we know about him so far. You have to build up a picture about him.
I would like them to base more of their character, if you like, on inquiry based, more of them growing the knowledge rather than us having to provide the knowledge, really.
It seems to me that you've already built that in, because your pupils are going to be people. And I'm wondering about the possibility of putting them in role at the beginning. That gives the whole inquiry a really clear focus then that what they've got to do, they've got the kind of skeleton of this person, they know some information. Now what they've got to do is to reconstruct their lives and their way of thinking and their relationships in the village. That would be, I think that would be a brilliant hook. And then the final thing is kind of joining all this up. And so therefore, what's the sequence of learning activities? We say that. The thing is, you have all these wonderful plans and then they're ruined by kind of 30 children.
Hopefully not. Another busy day, but really, really interesting. I was chatting to Esther there. What she was saying is just the simple thing like that diagram that he did is just fantastic for us, you know what I mean? And just, for any sort of planning to just look at these are the particular issues. This is kind of the hook, this is the end product, and then this is how we're going to plot it. But of course the kind of hard bit now is making an India series of about 6 lessons it's going to be. I really kind of hope we do him justice now. Well, this is the first lesson. I'm just sort of cutting out the character cards, and I've kind of tried to have a look at maybe who would be good at certain parts and different things and who could kind of maybe offer more. And sometimes you give the gifted and talented ones the kind of the lord and lady type roles and whatever. And I've actually decided not to do that, because I think in some ways the more difficult roles are the people that are in the middle. Often the people that are at the top or the people that are at the bottom in any sort of structure. Perhaps they are the more straightforward ones. What I'm going to do is give out each of these characters. Okay. So, Babar, there you go. Okay. Now I want you to read who you are very carefully. Okay. Chaitanya. Iftin. Jordan. Now.
He's Reeve.
Okay. A villain. How long?
I want to be with you.
Who's a villain? There's loads of villains. Oh no. Oof. There's something we need to say first. Does it say villain? Villain. Villain. So it's not a villain, it's a villain. Villain means that you live in a village. That's exactly it. You're a steward. Oh, we'll have to find out. There was some other questions here. Right, what's a bailiff? Good question. Okay. Lots of people going like, is he rich? Eh? People asking about what job they do. This is what we'll have to find out, okay?
In the lesson today, we got given a thingy and we got to find out about them. And I'm a priest, and Sir said it'd be a priest to be different from now than then.
You've got to research on that for homework. You've got to research in your role, we've been given jobs as well. So I'm a Reeve, and I don't quite know what that is.
Go to some history books and maybe some stuff from the internet.
Mike Riley says, well, why not give them their kind of parts, if you like, in the first lesson? So it did it on Tuesday, and it was just give out the parts. It was like, I'm married to you, I'm married to you. And it was like, and it's just always go, everybody calm down now, please.
So for how many lessons then are they, well, when is it that they're going to be actually doing the call?
They're going to do, it's going to be like, they have the 4 lessons now. Right. Before they do the course. They did 1 lesson sort of in the house type thing, then the next sort of series of lessons is going to be them at work type thing, so it's going to be using those sources, like those literal Psalter sources and stuff.
But it makes sense to get the character roles first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because then they can reflect upon that character throughout the scheme
See,
of work.
this is the thing.
Does the focus not change? Because I guess that the kids are just focusing on their own individual part rather than a more overall understanding of all the different parts.
What I got them to do in the first kind of lesson was that they had to go down the village and meet other people, and kind of find out about different people, and the fact that everybody wasn't the same, and the fact that some families were different. And that was good, you know. But again, they all see like villain. So they're just saying
I'm a gangster.
Exactly, they're all thinking I'm a gangster. I think they were all a bit disappointed that they weren't gangsters. Yeah. And now Adam is a villain. Does anybody know what a villain is? Normal person in the village. Okay. Are they allowed to leave the village? No, they're not. You've obviously done your homework. They're uneducated. Okay, absolutely right. But there are certain people in this room who are allowed to leave the village. Anybody know? He's a free man. What does a free man mean? Yeah?
He's not a slave, or he's not owned by anyone. So
He's not owned by anyone and he can leave the village. You're the priest, aren't you? Do you think the church was important in medieval times?
Yeah,
Why?
because in some stories it said it was very religious.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Where I got my information from, it says the priest was just like an ordinary person.
Yeah, no, he was an ordinary person, you're absolutely right. But yet he would have been seen as more important. Because what could he do that other people couldn't?
Read and write.
He could read and write, okay. So under the title, Working in a Medieval Village, it says, things I can see, things I can infer from what I can see in the picture, and then how will this help me with my character? Okay. Just wanted to go through with you just a couple of these. Have we any ideas? Go ahead.
Is it hay?
It's hay. They've gathered it into a thing called a sheaf, and then they're collecting it all together. So when do you think, what time of year do you think it is? Do you collect all that? What were you saying? Yeah. Autumn, because at harvest time, that's when you collect these things. Now, does it say here, harvest? No. We can infer that it might be harvest time.
This year 7 group are doing kind of, you know, what they'd have worked as in sort of medieval times and stuff. So,
And is that very different from what you would have done before?
it's not that much different. I just think the big thing is it's a wee bit more focused, and it's more, each of the lessons are linked together more than perhaps they would have been before. So it's more a kind of like a cohesive kind of thing, which is really good for them and for me as well, because there's quite a bit of a story going through it.
Stuart, can you come out, please? Priest, could you come out, please? Okay. So, Stuart, take it away.
Case 1, the miller is accused of grinding bone into the flour. The miller, please stand up. Are there any witnesses for this?
So what do you think? Do you think he did it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Why? Why do you say that?
Because when I bought the bread, there was lumps of white stuff inside there.
There was lumps in it, okay. It's not. Where would he find the bone? Well,
I wouldn't be digging in a graveyard.
Father, did you hear that?
You might not have got the bones from my graveyard, but you might have gone out the village and got the bones.
I've been doing this job for 10 years and it's been throughout my family. Why would I start now putting bone in my bread?
Maybe he feels that I've recently been watching him a bit too much, so maybe he wanted revenge on the village.
Stuart, I think we've got to make a decision.
Would the jury please decide if the miller is guilty or not? Jury has decided he is guilty. He should be fined 7 ducats.
Long old day. No, went okay. But I think what was really useful is very different from before, where we gave each of the pupils the characters at the very, very start. Is brilliant because it really kind of focuses them on what they need to know for their character. I think the only thing that would put in from my perspective, I think we needed just a little bit more time sort of thinking about what we might say and how we might say it. So I think that for next time it would be putting in an extra preparation lesson rather than just the one that we had.
Over to you. What's your first shot, please?
Okay, we want Harold's army looking tired from the long walk.
What I really want for the highest level is for them to write a really good piece of historical fiction.
You'd need to provide him, I think, with a good example that maybe he could then deconstruct.
So do you think is that a long-term effect?
Yeah.